So I know I said I was probably going to check in again on Friday, and it's only been 24 hours. But this is a worthy update if you are looking to drive pods for Schneider. All right, so got up again, 4:30 a.m. I was out the door within half an hour. I arrived at Schneider about 5:40, went inside, and security was, the training room is closed off. So I got there. An instructor I later met today, his name was Anthony. He actually unlocked the door so I could go in there and start looking through my papers and stuff like that, and start practicing. You guys know by now, if you've been watching this channel, that I like to practice. I like to prepare and study. So that's what I was doing. And so we, started. Everybody came in probably about 6:20, and by 6:30 we logged in and started doing our stuff. And then James took us out. We jumped in a van and went out to the yard. And he started showing us things that, like the Schneider approved way of getting in and out of the trailer, the truck, which is not all that miraculous as long as you know what you're doing and you understand 3 points of contact. That's the main point, is they want to demonstrate 3 points of contact. And like I said, it's nothing that you shouldn't already know by the time you get a CDL, but they cover their bases to make sure that you have been trained and told what to do and what the expectations are. It's good. Then he showed us the proper Schneider approved way to go to climb up or to open the back of a dry van, back of a truck or a trailer, and then how to properly get in, check things, what they call load straps. I've always referred to them as ratchet straps with the D-ring in a E-track. But use that, do that, and then, climb down properly. Then we went through a pre-trip, under the hood, up and down the side of the truck and everything. And this is where I really appreciated what 160 did. Now granted, it is the Schneider pre-trip based on the, what's it called? Freightliner Cascadia. And so there was pictures in the book. He walks you through the procedure. The only thing that wasn't labeled was the air dryer. And that's fine. I actually had a pen with me and I drew a line and labeled it so that way I would know that it's important. And so I started looking over the paper. I started going through everything, and it was cool. I mean, because everything was there laid out. And another instructor, I think his name was Gerard, something like that. I think it was Gerald. I saw his name badge as he turned real quickly. It's the only time I looked at it. He was very good, very knowledgeable. He's apparently a traveling trainer for Schneider, and he's very good too. All the instructors have been very good. And I like them. They're good. Let's see. So we started going through the pre-trip. We went through the paper. It's always open book, so you can look at everything. And then right as we were just about to do the coupling demonstration, as he was about to do the coupling demonstration, me and 4 other people got pulled away. This is where I've been pulled away. I was one of 2 people that had to redo the DOT physical, even though I had just gotten it like 50 days ago. And that's fine. I don't mind. Test me however you want to. Do whatever is required. I understand your procedure and policies. Absolutely. Doesn't matter. If I passed it once, I'll pass it again, right? I mean, it's only 50 days. So anyway, I made a point to blink more today when I was looking at the monitor so my contacts didn't dry out. That was good. Anyway, they said, you're going to go back because you have something called POS, or POS, point of service, whatever you want to pay, point of sale. And so I didn't actually see the coupling demonstration, which is something that I've been wanting to see, to make sure I understand that procedure. And, if you recall, yesterday I was one of 2 people that was pulled aside, had to redo the DOT physical, and today the other 4 people were different. They were different people than the other person was yesterday. And so I went inside, and of course this is in 90, I think it was 95 today. And so it was hot. We were drinking water and stuff like that. Went inside and they said, yeah, we're not ready to do your PWS just yet. And I thought that I was done with pretty much all the testing yesterday and the extra special stuff. And they said, yeah, he's got to be, go over that and He's just got to go over and go through the PWS. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is where you need to be aware if you are a Schneider pods driver. Your contract that you're driving under, not anything they make you sign, but the contract that you're driving under is going to require you, because you're doing flatbed, because you're doing pods and stuff like that, to do a physical. The same one that Schneider, I think it was in 2017, discontinued for the masses. It's the 1 minute to a pace like with like a metronome. They want you to step up, step down, step down, step up, step down for 1 minute. So they started off, and it's that. Now, I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea PWS, because I was told, oh yeah, everyone's, yesterday they were like, oh yeah, well good, everyone's gone through, done all the physical stuff they need to do, so we can just concentrate on class. I had no idea it was a PWS requirement. I had no idea PWS stood for pre-work screening. I had no idea that PWS was also a physical exam. Not that I care, even though I'm a big guy. I'm actually surprisingly fit, for my size, because I do get on the exercise bike routinely, and I'm used to being on my feet for like 14 hours a day, and very active. And the only reason that this came up is because, if you recall, yesterday, the jeans I was wearing were a bit tight. And it's because if you didn't see that episode, it's because I'm not used to wearing anything other than short sleeve shirts and shorts. Even in the winter, I'll wear that. As long as I layer up my core, my legs are fine. It's the way I've always been. I can be perfectly happy in like 20-degree weather. Now, if I have to go down, like, when I went to Minneapolis years ago, and it was like negative 19 and it felt like negative 39, at that point I did end up wearing like khaki pants, but that was it, and it was cold. I must say that was cold, even though I layered up very well above the waist. It was still cold. And so it's not really a big deal, except for the fact that I'm not used to wearing pants. So the pants that I'm currently wearing today, or were today, was a pair that was in a spare clothes that I had from years ago, from like 6 years ago. So they're a bit on the tight side, a little bit on the snug side. And I would like to blame that on washing it in hot water and drying it in high heat or something like that. But truth be known, I've gotten older. I think the last time I wore those, I was in my late 30s, and now I'm in my my late mid 40s. So yeah, it's been a while. All right. So, like I said, this physical thing wasn't a big deal, except the pants were a little tight. And I know that some of it was, keeping your back straight and squatting down and touching the ground, 10 times. Not a big deal under normal circumstances. Why this was a big deal, and the reason why I'm mentioning it, is because you know how things are. If you're not expecting something, things are going to catch you off guard just to throw a little snag at you. When we came back inside, we were told, yeah, they're not ready for you just yet. So go on. We went back in there and started going through the computer. That way we're not wasting time. Started to look through stuff, and our name would be called. Well, because we'd been outside in the heat, I had my water bottle out there with me, but I wasn't drinking it as I should. So in the van ride back, actually we walked back, I was drinking quite a bit of the water. When I came back, I refilled it, and I had guzzled down the entire thing again. So I had probably had, in maybe a half hour to a 45-minute time, I had probably had about 40 fluid ounces of liquid, if not more, because I drained down the rest of that water bottle. I think it's like 26 fluid ounces, 28. And I drained it down, and it was like that full. Drained it down the rest of the way, then drank it all the way down again till the last little bit. And then the rest of the group came back about 11:15, and we're kind of surprised to see that we hadn't been called in for PWS just yet. So, they were just like, okay, well, just, continue to work. At noon came around, and we were given our little meal voucher things. I went, and there was a guy I grabbed the last buffalo chicken wrap again today because it was good yesterday. And a guy walked in right after me, and he opened up the little fridge there, and he was looking around, and he was like, is that the last of the wraps? Did you find that from someplace else? I said, no, they were all in there. He goes fishing around, but there's nothing. There's no more. And he's like, all righty, thanks. And I could tell he was disappointed. So I said, dude, you take this. I was like, you know what? I'll grab meat sticks. So I wanted to try like the Macho Man Randy Savage Slim Jim that's like this big and as big around as my thumb, if not more. And then I grabbed one of those fatty smoke wood or sweet wood beef sticks that are just really awesome. So it was like a bunch of meat. And then went ahead and tackled down another big old thing, wanting to, because I was assuming that I would need to replenish the water in my system. And I'm feeling like I'm sloshing now, And then as soon as I finished the meat, guess what happened? She walks in and says, "Williams." And she walked in and called my name. So she walked in and called my name. So of course, I'm like, okay, because I just got through eating all this meat and then drinking like probably two and a quarter, to be fair, in the past hour, of this. And it doesn't metabolize and go through you that quick, especially if you're replenishing your hydration and stuff. She took me in there and had me sign the forms and stuff like that. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I recognize this room. Well, not the room, but I recognize the different tactics and, the different things, and crawl down underneath something and show that you can crouch and hold it for 20 seconds, then get out and do it again and push 150 pounds or 120 pounds, whatever it is, and pull 100 pounds or whatever it is, pull down 150 pounds, whatever it happened to be. So anyway, and so I went in there and I was looking at this. I was like, so what exactly is PWS? And she's like, it's a physical thing, and you have to do all these, we'll run you through a series of activities. And I look at her, I'm like, you called me right after lunch? And she just kind of smiles and says, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, can I at least run to the restroom? And so I ran to the restroom real quick and I'm back. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, because of the combination of literally walking to the restroom, I'm like hearing my stomach slosh with all the water in there. And I just know I just got through eating all this meat, and the pants were a little on the snug side to begin with. So I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. But at the same time, I know if you fail it, that's your job. So I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to pass this thing. The physical exam isn't the problem. The problem is trying to overcome the limitations of mobility on these particular pants. By the way, I'm home now, and the pants that I had ordered have arrived. So I should be good for tomorrow, hopefully. Unless there's a problem in the package, I haven't opened it yet. All right. Anyway, so I do the physical standing up and, up 1 foot and, on a metronome, that beat. No problem. She has, she starts by taking your blood pressure, and then she takes your heart rate, which I even told her, I said, well, now because I just got through drinking all this water and meat, and I said, I actually am nervous about, being able to have, because I was like getting a vegetative state, sitting there chilling out, just watching something, just drinking water constantly. So anyway, so I said, well, now it's after lunch and I ate, and they had warned me not to eat yesterday. And so of course my blood pressure was actually higher than I've ever seen it. Yesterday, I think it was like 120 over 70, 75, something like that, which is normal for me. Today, it's the highest I've ever seen it. And I even told her, I said, that's extremely high for me. It's probably because I'm nervous, about to make sure, because I know this is my job. And she just kind of said, oh, you're going to be fine. And it's like, okay. So anyway, I did the step up, step down, step up, step down, step up, step down, for 1 minute. And then she says you have 3 minutes to sit there and calm. And so I just kind of went back into my old martial art days and just kind of chilled out and relaxed and just, breathe, concentrate on breathing, slow the heart rate. And she measured it. I was fine. So then she says, you're going to do squats. If I was wearing sweatpants, if I was wearing shorts, it would have been fine. But these pants that basically grab about a little tighter than I would like it for about the top top, right when you're starting to move up. It's about like, when you start to bend your knees and do this number, it's like the part right there is still a little on the tight side. But I knew this was my job. So when I started to lean down there, the pants started to resist. I knew they were jeans though. They weren't going to split or anything. So I went ahead and pushed down. And then as soon as they started to resist, I was like feeling a lot of tension there in the waist, but I kept that back straight and I touched the ground and came back up and did it 9 more times. And I tell you, sinking down that low and then just literally lifting up my feet and saying, please, hoping that my weight pushes down enough to let me touch the ground. I was like, come on. Cause the pants literally did press back up and I'm like, come on. Anyway, got it, did it. Then after that, it was like, crawl underneath a piece of sheet metal that was simulating, it was climb up onto the top, step up, put your knee down, put 1 foot up. After staying there for a second, put your knee down, then put your foot, climb down, rinse, repeat. So it's basically like you're climbing up into a trailer. No problem. Did that. And then it was like crawling underneath the trailer, sitting there for 20 seconds, then come back up, stand up, do the same thing again, up and stand up. No problem. Again. And then after that, it was like, she was like, okay, well, now you're going to pull this thing, simulating like pulling a little, pull like what's it called? Not a forklift. It's the forklift you pull. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, I'll probably remember at 2 a.m., wake up and, anyway. So, and I pulled like 300 pounds or something like that on there, whatever it was. I think it was like 280, then now that I think about it, I think it was like I think she said it was 280 something. And then it was like 270 something, then 260 something. And then when it went down to pushing, it was about the same. It was a little bit lower. I think pushing was around I'm thinking 260, 250, 240, somewhere around there. Can't remember. Anyway, and then she had me, take a minute to, and then she checked the blood pressure. She did that once I don't remember when she broke it up, but she did the same thing again. No problem, still within the normal range. And then there was the last one was grabbing this thing and pulling it down and being able to pull down 150 pounds. And, no problem for a guy my size. I basically just locked and then I pulled it down 3 times. Bend the knees and pull it down. No problem. So then there she took the final thing and checked out just fine. Now, this isn't proprietary information in any way. Schneider actually has a video on their website about the physical that I think they discontinued on all, across the board in, I think, 2017, if memory serves, from what I remember online. And so, but be aware, if you are a pods driver, you may be asked to do this. And it may be right after lunch. So find out when you hear PWS, that's pre-work screening. Don't eat if you know you're going to be doing it. Don't fill up on water. Don't do what I did. You'll be fine if you're in any kind of a fitness level. Basically that's what it is. That's your fitness. And it's not like if I'm on the road and I drink a lot of water and I eat a lot of food, I'm suddenly going to say, well, I can't work, man. Here's some excuses. That's not what this is. This is just me saying, great. Because I thought I was going to be sitting there, vegging out, watching the screen and doing the test and stuff like that. That's a totally different creature than when you're doing something physical. And therefore, I went ahead and filled up with water. I knew that it'd probably get through my system by the time we would end up going back outside if we were going to. So no problem. I'd just run to the restroom and then we'd hit the yard again. There you go. That's the way it is though, right? So anyway, like I said, it wasn't a big deal. It's not a very intense, crazy physical or anything like that. It's just a test that you are able to do basic procedures that are necessary for the account. No problem, right? A company should be allowed to verify that you're able to physically do the job. Doesn't seem it's not an unreasonable request at all, is it? So you did it. I did it. And just pushed through and said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and be fine and just push through it just the same way as I would if I was, wanting to fill up with water earlier. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of funny as, one of those, of course this happened. Anyway, yeah, I'm not blaming Schneider at all. They have a procedure. They're trying to get us through 3 days worth of computers and different other things. That way we can go into other types of training. They have to do a lot of the tablet stuff, showing us the tablet we'll be working on. They showed us they want to show us a few, all the videos and stuff, which is like hours and hours of training, and it's all self-paced stuff. So it's a neat system. As long as you're capable of learning. Let the truth be known, my headphone jack is pretty bad. I would clean it, bring some deoxit or something like that, and clean the inside of the thing out. But all I know is that if I were to do something like that, and just for whatever reason it stopped working after that, I would hate the company to say you got to replace it. So I'm just dealing with it in scratchy and very low volume and whatever. But anyway, so regardless of knowing how to do it or not, I'm not going to go there just because I don't want to risk it. So then we went out to the yard again. And because we did not do coupling earlier, a guy named Anthony. Oh, he's a great guy. He's a former Marine, and he's got a great personality. He is engaging. He asks our questions. He stays on top of it. He walks and he pays close attention on everything. He's really, really good. I like him. He's got a good kind of a teaching method that works very well with me. And he's also very anxious. He's very willing to answer questions. So that's good, because I have those. He walked us through the coupling procedure, then the decoupling procedure. And then guy in the class, he's young, but he's extremely smart, and he's very well researched. He does a lot of research. He makes sure that he's good. He walked through the coupling procedure. Then after that, I went next. And the first thing that you do is you have to align the trailer correctly with the tractor. So you have to back up the tractor and align it up. And when Brandon had pulled forward a little bit, it went a little bit off alignment. So the very first thing I had to do is jump in the truck and align it properly, because I got underneath there, looked at the kingpin, and wasn't lined up correctly. And I tell you, Schneider has done a very good job of giving you things that you can look at. And so that way you can just follow a procedure. It's very easy the way it's laid out in training. It's one of those things that I want to say you can't forget it, because as soon as I say that, I'll forget something. I don't want to say that. But what I will say is that they do a very good job. Like, for example, on the Freightliner Cascadia, the reverse light's in the center. And your margin of error for the kingpin needs to be about 4 inches, about 2 inches to the left, 2 inches to the right, which happens to be the same size as the reverse light. So they say that basically, as long as your kingpin is in alignment within that light, you're within the margin of error. So as long as the two line up fairly, because they're pretty close, you back up there and you put your truck underneath the trailer, and they're not very far away. You can look at them, and as long as it looks like it's centered, you're going to be good. And then you check your height and other things too. But that's a pretty good procedure. That's one of those things that when you tell me a procedure, when you tell me something like that to do, I can follow it. I won't forget that kind of thing. That's a very good thing. And Schneider has done a lot of that. I really appreciate their training program. And I appreciate the people that are teaching it, because everyone there is good at answering questions. As we were going through the pre-trip, and I was like, wait a minute, what are you pointing at? And he says, it's in your book, but it's right here also. And so we're checking for this and this and this. And granted, here's the thing about pre-trips. Once you know your truck, as soon as you're issued a truck, and once it is yours, you know it on a daily basis. You are in that truck constantly. Once you do your first very detailed pre-trip, the rest of it is maintaining status quo, because nothing leaks. And if for some reason you get a bunch of dirt in there, wipe it off, because once it's clean again, you're going to be able to see if there's any leaks. A little bitty abrasion in a hose, a little bitty hairline crack in a fluid reservoir or something like that, it's gonna bite you if you don't check it and look at it on a multi-day. I mean, you check it in the morning, you check it throughout the day, anytime you get out of the truck, and then you check it again at the end of the day. So you see it multiple times. You're able to get a good feel of the way the truck is supposed to look. If something starts to look not right, you correct it, you clean it, you look at it and say, wait a second, there's a little line of fluid here. That wasn't there earlier. What if this is a leak? Then you inspect it because it stands out. When you're in something and you do something every single day, like this computer, for example, I know the way my screen looks. I know the way it is. I know from looking at certain things if it doesn't work right. If something is off, if I turn it on and it takes a little bit longer for the external hard drives to get going or something like that, and it takes the boot up screen that normally is really instantly, it takes a little bit longer, I'll know. When I get in my car, I know without me even having to think about it, where first gear is, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and I'm able to shift right to where, yes, I drive a manual transmission. So I'm able to go exactly where I want to go, and I don't even think about it. If I need to skip from 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 or 3 to 6, instantly I know exactly where it is, muscle memory. And I will say this also. The Freightliner Cascadia, I was not sure about getting behind the wheel of an automatic again. I know it's supposed to be easier and something like that, and you just turn it, drive, neutral, reverse. And here's the thing. At 160, whenever you push the gas, whenever you put the brake on and then you push the gas on an automatic on one of the international day cabs, it jumped. It jumped off. It was more than happy to accelerate. And, if you weren't careful, you'd spin the tires out there on that gravel, on the gravel yard. This is paved. Schneider has a paved, yard, not surprisingly. And it's concrete and it is asphalt. So, well, and the thing is, the whole thing is asphalt, but then where you put the landing gear down, that's on this little pad that's 4 feet long or 4 feet wide. And that's concrete. Concrete is harder and it's not going to sink like asphalt will. So it's going to be better. They say always drop your landing gear there. All right. So when it came down to doing my coupling, I went through the procedure and Anthony stepped back and just watched me go, because at that point I'm very involved. I'm very, much wanting to look around and see what everything is. I'm looking in the books and everything, wanting to make sure it burns in here, because this isn't me, cramming for a test. Basically, the way it is just like with 160. It is a script. I memorize the script, then I make it my own. So I'm going to memorize the script and memorize what I need to do, and then I'm going to just go through the procedure and do it. And as long as you have that 160, this is the thing I was trying to say earlier about 160. I really appreciate all the detail to, bent, cracked, and broken, chipped, cracked, and broken, whatever it happens to be, no missing hardware, all of that kind of stuff has kind of been burned into my mind. So when I'm looking at different parts, I can look at it and go through the checklist and say, it's not leaking, it's not chipped, it's not broken, it's not bent, whatever. And I'm able to go through it and I say, okay, the hose is going in and out. I can check all that. And my mind instantly goes there because it's what I was doing. And on this pre-trip, they walk you through more parts. They walk you through things a little bit differently because it is a different truck and things are laid out differently. The Cascadia is designed for fuel efficiency. So it has, for example, a cap over the tires. And so you would have to remove that if you want to check the tire pressure. And so the procedure is a little bit different on things. And at 160, they had, 40-foot trucks, trailers. Over here, they're 53. And they're also, I think, I'm trying to remember. There were dualies on the back, but it was a single axle. These are tandems. So there's two axles in the back, 8 total tires. And so these trailers, they're designed for more weight. And, they're also, 13 feet longer. And that's cool. I mean, but the procedure that they teach you and they go down, James, Anthony, Gerald, I think it's Gerald, they walked us through the procedures and they were very good and very streamlined and kept things very simple. This is it. Following your book. What does the book say? We were engaging and interacting with it. So it's good. I know you can't, I know you can't stay in training forever, but, and you know what? I'm appreciating it. I'm appreciating what I'm getting out of the program so far. It's only been 2 days. It's only been 20 hours. I appreciate it though. They've done a good job with the training program thus far. I will continue to say thus far because, anything can change. I don't think they would just give you a good first couple of days or first 3 days and then suddenly drop the ball. Doesn't seem like something that they would do. Schneider does have a good reputation for training. It's one of the reasons why when they said that you'd be training for 3 weeks, I was like, okay. It's not as much as that anyone else out there. But you know what? 2 weeks. And here's something they told us today. They said, you are trained for 2 weeks. At the end of the second week, you will need to basically test out and pass everything. Once you pass everything, then they will determine you're good to go on the road. Now, I mentioned pods require extra training. It is a flatbed account. I'm one of a few people that are going to be doing an additional 3rd week. So after next week, I pass the 2 weeks of training and graduate with my class. I will stay back, and I'm one of a few people that will stay back for additional training for flatbed, for pods and that kind of stuff, additional training. And then the next week, I will be out on the road with the TE. Again, is training. I need to training educator training. I can't remember what the acronym is. I'll know it by the, probably in the next video, or if not the one after. But so I'll be in training a little bit longer, and that's fine. That's fine. I would rather learn the skills and have those in my back pocket. That's good. So far, no regrets working for Schneider, or being trained by Schneider at this point, not really technically working. I kind of laugh at, the nervousness of today's test and stuff like that. I would probably be frustrated if I failed it because, but I pushed through, and granted, then we went back outside and so I got hot again. But you know what? I was well hydrated at that point. So everyone was like, backing away, trying to hide in the shadows and stuff like that. And because I'm wearing long sleeves and long pants and I have a big wide brim hat, I was fine and hydrated. So I was standing out there and with the instructors and asking questions. I have no problem doing that. Everyone's trying to hide from the sun, something like that. I was just, staying in the shade. I also noticed that my tan line, that was sunglasses up here and then in the shade of the brim of the hat, because you can see that it covers down to like here. The sun does the same thing. So my tan here is that tan line right there is a little bit faded. But no, so anyway, gonna go to bed, gonna wake up, go ahead to Schneider, get there probably again at 5:45 a.m. and go through my paperwork and start looking through things because they're like, okay, well, ready to test tomorrow? It's like, yeah, let's do it. And, I didn't want to sound too eager in class when they said that because a couple of people were like, we just learned it yesterday, but guess what? It's open book. We have a pamphlet we can always cheat off of. And it's not technically cheating because it's allowed. And why be so nervous? And I told Anthony the same thing. We already understand. We all have class A's. We all understand pre-trip. So basically what this pre-trip is it's showing you when you go underneath the hood, when you go up in the side and you check everything, it's just walking you through the procedures. And basically it's the same thing as what we talked about with Mark over at 160. You learn the script and then after that kind of observe, look at things. Don't get into the habit of trying to look at the paper. The paper is there as a backup. Paper is there in case you need to cheat or you need to have a refresher. But here's the thing. By now, we know it. Now, granted, there are some parts that Schneider goes over that I'll need to learn. And I'll look at it and guess what? It's on the paper. It's very well organized. And then you follow the procedure. It's very well done. So it shouldn't be an issue. And since the main thing is you're not timed on it. It's not like, well, you only have 5 minutes to do your whole pre-trip. Let's go. It takes the time it takes. And it's not like you're trying to have an evaluator and you have 2 hours of time and you have to do your pre-trip and then you have to do your maneuvers, then you have to do your road test all in 2 hours. Otherwise, you time out and you have to come back again. It's not like that. The procedures take the time you need to do it safely and correctly. That makes me happy. So if they say, well, okay, you're ready to be tested, I'm just going to look at it. I'm going to double check my paper. I'm going to go through the procedure and I will verify the procedure and just do things the right way. There you go. So at the end of the day, we went back, and Chris, the guy that started the conversation, who's like, I think, in charge of training, he greeted us again. He was back there. I greeted him, and then it was funny because he said, "Hey, you guys want to see a video on what's going to replace you?" And then, of course, it was about automated driving, about an automated truck called the Aurora system. And I must say, it's pretty cool. Now, granted, they've done 120,000 miles of driving on a completely autonomous driving system, so driverless system. And it basically has driven, I think their test was from Houston to Dallas, I think you said. And they have already, they've had zero issues at all in 120,000 miles. And it looked like the little bars on top that had the cameras and stuff like that. It looked to me like very similar to their Mirror Eye system that they were testing a few years ago, and they're slowly rolling out. The Mirror Eye system, if you're not familiar with it, is something that Schneider was looking into as a mirror replacement using cameras. Now, if you look at the videos online, and I asked a couple of questions because I actually said on the Aurora system, I raised my hand. I said, it looks like the little tree structure up at the top with the cameras and stuff is very similar to your Mirror Eye system that you were testing. And he said, it is similar. Yes, it's based on the same kind of, high quality cameras, very similar high quality cameras. So he then says, I'll show you that video too. So he shows us that. And it's the same video I've seen online where they basically have a rear view mirror, a regular standard camera that is tuned for that. And then the wide angle, the convex mirror that's distorted a little bit, it's not distorted when you look at it on that screen. And because it is high quality and because it's a camera and cameras can do really amazing things now, if you are at night, the thing opens up. So that way it's more a better night vision experience. And if someone blasts it with headlights, as opposed to being like, whoa, that was really bright, it minimizes that. It like filters it out, polarizes it or something like that. And so that way you can see much better clarity and that kind of thing. Now, Chris did tell us that they're starting to roll it out in like intermodal. I think that James said that the Home Depot account, I think, is also getting it now. And those aren't going to be anything I'm doing right now. And maybe intermodal. I don't know what pods. Technically, pods are intermodal because they go over multiple different delivery, methods, shipping methods. So it's not like cargo containers that then suddenly get loaded onto a flatbed. That's two different ones right there. It's more like, a pod is picked up by a truck, and then it's given to the flatbed that I'll be driving, and then it's given to another truck that's going to deliver it. So, yeah. He said intermodal has been rolling out intermodal. So I'm like, is intermodal what? I don't know what the classification is, what pods fall under. Technically, I think it would be intermodal, but I don't know. And I don't want to speculate. If I see Chris tomorrow morning, he's there early. He's very involved in the training program. And he should, because he's in charge of it, which is good. He's not one of those guys that comes in late because he's, in charge of it or whatever else. He's very involved. Like I said, the instructors there are very good. They're on time. It's just expected. They do their job and they do it well. Plain and simple. So, if I see Chris tomorrow morning, I'm going to ask him about that. If intermodal includes pods, because it would be really cool to actually see that system and try it. Not having a mirror that's, blinding you or something like that. So that'll be cool. But if I don't, guess what? I'm a new driver. So let me go old school with mirrors, and guess what? I'm going to be fine. Anyway, so I did learn something else interesting today in the van ride over. Some of the other schools, like Dally's, for example, the one that I was looking at and then said, you know what, I'm not going to go there because there was some negative reviews. They apparently do quite a few things. I don't want to say right, but I don't want to say wrong either. They do things like 160 is very good about asking questions about, of the examiners to find out what it is. Well, apparently one of the guys that's in my class, he went to Dally's. And when he went there, he said that they trained you on a 53-foot trailer, not a 40. And I was like, really? So all the extra length and stuff like that, they did that. And he's like, yeah. And then there was a bunch of people like, yeah, what'd you train on? I said, a 40. And they're like, a 40? Yeah, but so much room. And I'm like, to do maneuvers. I was like, yes. I mean, I must say it's really cool. But another thing is that he said that Dallies did was they said, can't mess these moves up. If you mess it up, you'll fail. So it got people in the mindset of do it the right way. So they realized that they were going to now. So that by the time they got to the testing grounds and they went and tested, then they ended up testing, and they got the moves right. So he said, oh yeah, we only have like 3 pull-ups and we fail. I'm like, what? I was like, no, you don't. He says, yeah, you had to get the maneuvers right the first time. And then like you got 1 extra pull-up on your specialty technique. I'm like, no, dude, it's a point system. And I explained it. And then he thought about it. He says, you know what? That actually makes more sense, because there was a couple people there when I tested that screwed up a few things and they still passed, but they messed up a little bit and they still passed. I was like, yeah. So I wonder if that's something that Dallies told them, to make sure that they were motivated to do things right the first time, maybe, as opposed to having all of us over at 160 concentrating on points, say, oh, well, that was just 11 points. That was 2 points. That was 4 on this with a forced pull-up. So there's 5, and counting our points as we do maneuvers. That's technically Dallies' approach is probably better, where they just say, don't screw up and do it the right way. So that's appreciated, I guess. And he said his experience was good. He did say that they seem to be a little more strict about, nope, you have to start here. This is when you're assigned, and you can't do it. You can't do that. You're going to be pushing later. Okay, fine. Well, your spot's going to be gone. There's just sacrificing $600. And he said, yeah, they were a little bit more strict about that. And he said, but all the schools are that way. I shook my head and I said, 160 isn't. 160 is like, well, go for a week. And if you need to take a couple of weeks off and then join, because you go in there every single week. They start a new class every week. So, hey, yeah, that's fine. Come in at your own pace, whatever. So he was like, that's good. I don't have any regrets. It does sound like Dallies, he had a good experience there. So that's good. Good for him. He's, I'm sure, a good driver because of it. I'm sure Dallies is a fine school, despite what reputations and, here's the thing. People will say all kinds of things online on the internet. It's kind of like what I was saying yesterday. Real world is what matters. When you actually test it for yourself and try things for yourself, that's when you're going to have an honest assessment. That's it. I'm not any better than anybody else. No one else is better than me. We're all in the same training class. The instructors are not better than us or anything like that. They may have more experience and more skill sets and stuff like that. But guess what? We're all on the same team. We're all in Team Schneider. So there you go. All right. Well, I've talked for over 40 minutes. Sorry about that again. But I figured that it would be good to give a little update on if you were interested in being a pods driver for Schneider. You're going to take a lot of extra tests and procedures and stuff like that. And another thing is, I think I mentioned this already, I'll be staying back after my class that I graduate with. They'll hit the open road with a trainer, and I'll be staying back with a small group of, I think, 2 other people, and we're going to be learning additional skills for an additional week. So another week of low pay, but hey, we're going to be fine. Anyway, there you go. That is this episode. I'll probably do a touch base and fill in after we finish out this week.